These are the DZOFILM Vespid 2s, and they are their new set of small, fast and affordable Cine primes. I've been really interested in these because 5 years ago I invested in the original DZOFILM Vespids, and they've served me really well over the years, covering everything from music videos to corporate work. As someone who has shot on the original lens set, these new Vespid 2s are not what I was expecting, and they actually seem to have more in common with one of DZOFILM's other lens sets than they do with the original Vespids. So watch this video to find out more. Since I picked up the original Vespids, DZOFILM have gone from like a niche budget lens producer to an established industry player, and generally people have grown to love and trust the range of lenses that they've put out. The original Vespids were incredibly influential and popular. They had a generous spread of focal lengths, had interchangeable PL and EF mounts. They were T2.1, which was fast enough for most projects, and they had a look as well. You know, they weren't boring or clinical, and they had a good balance of sharpness, whilst introducing what some people might call vintage-esque characteristics. The Vespid 2s are all now T1.9, and at launch we have 6 focal lengths, so we have an 18, a 24, a 35, 50, 85, and 105mm, and they are very aggressively priced for what you're getting. Although this is an excellent spread of focal lengths to get started with, it does differ a little to what was available with the original Vespid lens set. So the original set favoured the longer ends, so we had like a 90mm macro, a 75mm, a 100mm and a 125 with wider focal lengths like the 12, 16 and 21 coming a bit later, as well as a 40mm. And I've got no doubt that DZO will flesh the Vespid 2 focal range out, but it's interesting that this range of focal lengths, it has the classics in there, but with the more niche focal lengths, it did seem to fill in the gaps and complement the Arles more than mirroring what we got with the original Vespid set. These new lenses are actually smaller and a bit more compact and generally lighter than the original Vespids, which is incredible when you consider their optical quality and the faster t-stop that you're getting with these, so T1.9 versus T2.1. The lenses have a nice build to them. They feel maybe a little bit more solid than the original Vespids and will be a fantastic size for many owner-operators, especially those that found the Arles just to be a little bit too heavy and cumbersome. They have the same image circle and filter thread as the original Vespids too. Most importantly, all the focal lengths I tested worked well with my MOFAGE PL adapter and do not obstruct or block the use of rear filters. I can't say this works for all adapters, but I'm sure they've been designed with this in mind and is a clear advantage over other lens sets like the Cine Affinas. When I'm making these videos, music is always super important, which is why I use a high quality music library like Audio. Often when I'm editing, I'll start with a well-known track in mind, but of course, I don't have the budget to use something like that, so that's where Audio's new Link Match 2.0 comes in handy. This is a great tool that allows you to take a music reference from somewhere like Spotify or YouTube, take the link, paste it into Link Match, where it will return a bunch of matching results from their library. And it'll also usefully highlight which segment of a suggested song is most similar to your reference. This tool is especially useful when clients of mine send me music reference for edit projects, because I can now quickly feed them into Link Match and get a bunch of options without having to spend hours looking for them. Also, if you use my exclusive discount code EDPROSSER, you can get 70% off your first year of a pro plan. So, what are you waiting for? Check it out today at audio.com. Now this is where it gets really interesting. The Vespid 2s don't really seem to match the original Vespids, i.e. it feels like they came from different parents, they don't share the same DNA. The Vespid 2s actually seem to match DZOFILM's other Cine lens set, the Arles. They have similar sharpness, optical control, similar color rendering, and the same creamy fall off into the out of focus area. You know, the original Vespids, they weren't the sharpest lenses, but the Vespid 2s show much improved sharpness, similar to what we're seeing on the Arles set. They seem to share what I assume is the same coating as the Arles, because they have a very similar color rendering that matches with the Arles, and not the original Vespids. You can see here the differences between both the skin tones and the wall behind Steph, That the Vespid 2s push more warmth and have a less magenta bias in the skin tone, which is exactly what we see in the rendering from the Arles. The original Vespids, especially when wide open, had quite a bit of green and magenta chromatic aberration, but these lenses again seem quite controlled, similar to the Arles. If you look at the light in the background, the Arles and the Vespid 2 match pretty well here and differ from the behaviour on the Vespid 1. The Vespid 2s look great wide open. There isn't necessarily a need to stop them down to tidy them up, whereas I found with the original Vespids at T2.1, you had to nudge them down to around T2.8 to clean up some of their grungier elements. The Vespid 2s also seem to have less distortion than the original Vespid set. If we look here, we switch between the 35 of the Vespid 1 and the Vespid 2, just look at how the distortion in the room changes. The original Vespids also had a tendency to lose contrast when shooting into strong direct light sources. The Vespid 2s are far more controlled here and again echo the behaviour of the Arles. You can see here as I block the light source with my hand, the loss in contrast is much less severe on the Arles and the Vespid 2 than it is on the original Vespids. Overall, the Vespid 2 sets do push a bit of a warmer tone into the scene, more than on the Vespid 1 set, and this look is consistent to what we see on the Arles. Here you can see what the out of focus area looks like between the Vespid 1, the Vespid 2 and the Arles. Focus breathing is also incredibly well controlled. So what we seem to see in the Vespid 2s is a much more controlled and sharper look relative to that original lens set. It seems DZOFILM have opted to create the Vespid 2s as a sister set to the Arles rather than keep the same DNA as the original Vespids. The Vespid 2 just seem to be smaller, slightly slower versions of the Arles, and you could confidently use the two sets together using the Vespid 2s for smaller setups like on gimbals and drones, and have colour consistency between the two lens sets, rather than mixing and matching, say, the Vespid 1 and the Vespid 2s. So this seems to mirror what Cine have done with their recent prime releases. So we've got the Athenas and the Aureas, which were also T1.9 and T1.4, also giving us balanced and sharp optics. I think the Vespid 2s are a very exciting lens set, if only for the reason that they offer tiny, more affordable versions of the DZOFILM Arles. For a lot of people, both the cost and size of those lenses put them off, myself included. I loved the image on those lenses, but they were just a little bit too big for some projects. And I just really wish that they had a similar lens set that rendered the same image, but was just smaller. And this is exactly what we have now. They also come with the benefit of being much cheaper than the Arles as well. So I think the only miss here is that DZO decided to call this set the Vespid 2s, and I think that may confuse some people upgrading from that original set, myself included. And they do retain some personality and character. They push a nice warmth into the image. They aren't the most contrasty looking lenses, but they do differ significantly from the lenses that they take their name from, the original Vespids. But that's not a bad thing, right? Because it means the Vespid 1s are still kind of pretty relevant. They're kind of unique. They have their own look going on for them. And those lenses now are even cheaper. So if you want a look that is slightly more grungy, then those are a really affordable option now. But if you already own a set of the original Vespids like me and are thinking of upgrading to these, you'll just need to ask yourself, do you want to lean more towards this new cleaner look, or do you prefer the vibe of the original Vespids? Personally, I've kind of fallen in love with the look of the Arles this year. I've shot a lot of projects over the last 8 months on them, and I'm willing to give up some speed to get smaller and cheaper versions of them. I rarely shoot on the Arles wide open, and the Vespid 2 seem to perform well even when wide open, but especially stopping them down, into T2, T2.8. So these may be my next set of Cine lenses moving forward, as they're perfect for the range of work that I shoot on, and I know I can handle the size of them, whether working with a crew or even just on my own as a solo shooter, or even when I'm traveling. I'd love to know what you think of these. Let me know in the comments down below. Special thanks to Gary Scaife, who lent me these lenses for a week to test them. Look out for his video on the lenses as well. If you like the video, give it a like, but that's it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.